Yo, yo, basketball is my favorite sport. I like it when we dribble up and down the court. Shout out to Kirk Cole Chains. He is the main. But it's Michael Penix time now, and he about to put that ball down in the end zone with a spike. Going crazy, drinking Sprite. Grant Hill drinks Sprite. Michael Penix drinks Sprite. Welcome back to the Players Ball Podcast. Coming back with some more heat for you guys. Best podcast in the A, man. I mean, we change it up from time to time, but we're the best. We appreciate you guys coming back and checking us out. We're gonna do obviously a little Atlanta sports talk, but we're gonna change it up this time because there's more Atlanta adjacent things that we want to start with. So we're gonna go past, present, future in that order.
I like it. I like it.
Um, yeah, man. But let's start in the past, man. There was some news. There's been a lot of news that's been Atlanta sports adjacent or Atlanta sports direct. One thing that came out, man, was a famed Falcon quarterback is changing positions, and it ain't Kirk Cousins. It's Sir Michael Vick. He will be the coach of Norfolk State, which is, right outside of his hometown. He's going to be a head coach. Now, when I heard the news, it was followed by slander. Like it was Squid Billy and then Mike Johnson kind of seconded it, but they were on 929 again. They were saying to the effect that they didn't know if Mike Vick had coaching in him, right? That maybe he'd be a good recruiter. That he has a great story, but they didn't know if he would be a good coach. They thought that he wouldn't be more directly. Um, Thinking about Vic, his post football career, I watch him on NFL Fox on Sundays. He's got some good takes, but what do you think about Vic becoming a coach?
I mean, I was kind of surprised by it, to be honest. He has no prior coaching experience, so it is interesting to make that leap from zero to the NCAA. And I think, there are a couple things when it comes to the quarterback position, right? He played at a very high level for a very long time. I think he has a lot to offer. Um, he also has the NFL experience. He has kind of an extreme, right? Like he had the fame, the fortune, the number one overall draft pick with a pretty steep, fast decline with all of the dogfighting stuff. And then rise from the ashes type story to end his career. So I do think that he has a lot of personal experience he can draw on to teach these young men. I don't know what kind of leader he is. I don't know what kind of X's and O's kind of guy he is. But from a human experience standpoint, right? Like he has probably more to offer than Dion, just because of what
Yeah,
he's been through. And I hope more than anything that he is successful in, you know, building young men, right? As a coach, because I do think that's a very important role as a head coach. I know Dion really takes that as one of his primary approaches. I know Kirby, that's a big part of what he's trying to do. He's trying to prepare these young men for life in football at the next level, but also life after football. And I do think that Vic has a lot to offer in that. A lot of, you know, don'ts and do's, right?
don't be like me, be better than me.
Yeah, I mean, but he can. I think because he excelled at such a high level that people will listen to him when he says like, "Look, I came in the league. I didn't study. I didn't practice. I didn't have good practice habits. I was going home on the weekend. I was getting into trouble. I was hanging around the wrong people, and this is what happened. I had a fast, steep decline. Ended up spending time in jail. Right. My
Lost a
career,
$100 million.
my
Yeah,
career could have been over. I overcame it and I was able to get a second chance and I made the best of it. And now look at me, right? Um, so I do think that he could be a good coach. And I think
Yeah.
it really is going to be important who he surrounds himself with, what kind of coordinators he brings in. Recruiting, if you're a quarterback, wouldn't you want to go play for Mike Vick? I mean, it's like
Hell yeah.
Travis Hunter. He's coming out of high school as a wide receiver slash corner. Like, who wouldn't want to play corner for Deion Sanders?
Yeah.
So no, I think it's interesting.
It is interesting, and the fact that he hasn't coached anywhere before and he's making this leap. The first thing being, the American man. The first thing I thought about was money. Like, how much of a bump would he get going from Fox to Norfolk State? I don't imagine much. So he's obviously doing it for more than just the money, which tells me that there is passion there. And when you have passion and experience, I think you can have success. I agree with you. A big part of his success is going to be whether he surrounds himself with, because you, as a coach or manager or any leader, you are some. The team is a sum of the parts, right? You're a part of something that you have a primary role in leading, but sometimes that role is assembling people that are smarter than you, that know more, and that can do specific things that you may not be the best at. So I wish him nothing but success, and I'm curious to see where it goes with it, man. I told you I jumped on the Buffs. I didn't quite. I forgot where Ed Reed coaches. I don't even know. So obviously I'm not following them. I think it's HBCU. I need to pay attention to
I think
that.
Eddie George is out there coaching as well. There's a few.
Eddie George out there, yeah, but Vic, had to give me some Norfolk State gear.
Yeah. But to your point, right? The saying is you're only as good as your weakest link.
Mhm.
I do think that may be a potential issue that we're having with our home franchise, but we'll talk about a little of that later on. But like you, I hope the best for Vic. I will be tuning in just to see. Right, it's more than anything else. It's intrigue.
100%, 100%. Okay, yeah. Shout out Big Vic. Um, So from past to past, but we're going from Vic was a decade ago to very recent past. I'm gonna switch sports even to the Braves. News came out about Mr. Max Fried. That man collected the bag. He is going to the evil empire. So, that's a little bit of salt in the wound, but we weren't gonna give Max Fried that money. There's no chance in hell that that was about to happen here as a Brave. So what are your thoughts on him going to the Yankees?
I think I've been very vocal in my feelings on the Death Star, and um, I appreciate Max and everything he's done for our franchise. He was a part of a World Series champion team. All the love for the time and the what you put into it while you were here, but you're dead to me. Um, yeah, man. He took the money. We were not going to offer that kind of money, and the Yankees organization has a history of just throwing dollar bills at players and them really not coming through. So I don't really expect him to play up to that contract. If
Mm.
if history tells us anything, once you go up to New York under the big lights, you just kind of fold.
Garrett Cole turning around, and I mention him because he'll still be the ace. Max Fried won't have the pressure of being number one like he had here for so many years.
How long
That may
though did
benefit
it?
him.
How long did it take
Oh,
Garrett
like
Cole?
2 full seasons. How long has he been there? It was this season that he got back to ace for.
Yeah, uh, I feel like he's been there since 2020.
No, he hasn't been there that long, has he?
I think he has. I think he's been there a solid 4 years. But while you're checking that out, yeah, Max, you know, I hope he's happy in New York. Um,
Good call. 2020.
yeah. I hope he's happy in New York, but I hope we beat him every time we see him. I hope we touch him up for about 15 a game, and there's no talks of any Cy Youngs while he's up there.
Would it have been worse if he had went to the Mets?
Um, I don't know. I hate the
See him a lot
Mets.
more.
We would
Yeah,
we
that's
would
what I'm
see him a
saying.
lot more. That is for sure. I guess that's kind of an interesting thought. Because I mean, you can tell I have a deep hatred for the New York Yankees. I think
Yeah.
it's childhood trauma. um, but we don't see them a whole lot, so I don't really ever have to worry about that too much. I did root against them in the World Series, um, but yeah, I don't know. New York would be bad. You know, Tom Glavine did it.
He
Frenchie
did.
did it. But you look at who those guys kind of gravitate to in their post career, and Frenchie is been a part of the broadcast crew for the Braves. Tom Glavine has made appearances, right? Like they still show a lot of love to the Braves, and they're still considered Braves
Yeah.
legends. So we'll,
And then
we'll have to
Tom
see.
Glavine, I think it was a real fishy situation. I remember hearing a conversation about that, about not as bad as Michael Jordan and what's the guy from The Last Dance, whoever the GM was at the time, but something to that level where it was just bad blood between him and the GM or the skipper or somebody in management at the time that was like, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with this anymore.
I don't think it was Leo Mazzoni, and I don't think it was Bobby Cox. So I think it had to have been front office. But I think um, when it came to Tom, he was chasing 300 wins, and he was going to get it. He ultimately got it as a Met, and I think he wanted it as a Brave, and they just weren't willing to negotiate and make it happen. So I think that's what ultimately led to him leaving. But yeah,
Did you know he retired a Brave?
he signed like a 1 day contract to
Yeah.
retire Brave. Good
And
for
then he
him.
became a special assistant to the Braves president.
Yeah, I know he's been involved
Uh, huh.
pretty strongly with the organization. So yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
the
know.
Braves cut him. That's what they said.
Yeah,
That's crazy, right?
Hall of Famer.
So Atlanta.
Yeah,
Uh,
unfortunately.
so the Yankees pick up Free, and then they lose Juan Soto. So I felt good about that, like him leaving there. I don't want to see him. I wish he would have went somewhere else, but you know, addition by subtraction, I guess, for the Mets
So
by not adding Max Fried.
is it worse as a Braves fan losing a player to say the Dodgers or the Yankees, or a Yankees fan losing a player to the crosstown rival? That's pretty
I was
cold.
I would say the Braves just because
Hmm.
the Yankees have been Big Brother for forever, right? It's like the Lakers and the Clippers. The Lakers don't really care about the Clippers or what they do. You can
Yeah.
have your big shiny arena out in Inglewood. We don't care. You're still the Clippers. You'll
Oh,
always be the Clippers.
I
I think
care.
that's how
That
the Yankees
arena's
look at
dope.
the Mets. Nah, it looks fire. Steve Ballmer did his thing.
Yeah.
He copied us a little bit. He
Oh,
definitely improved
100.
upon it. He took it up a notch though for sure.
Yeah, I would love to check it out live in color.
We're going to the 2028 Olympics, right?
Oh yeah. You
I'm
know,
sure there'll be some events out there in
Tilly
all their facilities.
Tilly has been asking to go to that for
Oh, I've been telling my family that we're going.
might as well.
We'll be we'll be there.
Yeah. We'll tag along.
A lot of time to plan for it. Yeah, let's make it a thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. The Braves haven't really done anything, so there's not a whole lot else to talk about besides our more recent past of losing Max Fried. We all saw it coming, so it's not a huge surprise. The number that he got was a surprise to me, but good for him. I ain't hating.
Yeah.
Get your
I'm
money, man.
I'm not counting someone else's cash.
I mean, if they're gonna give me some, I'll help count it. But otherwise, no, I don't care. Oh man, but why live in the past, man? We can move towards the future or the present. I'm sorry, the present. It's kind of past still. Present, switching
Relevant.
sports, present relevant. Hawks are better than a lot of people expected, and are now getting a little bit of credit for it. They made it to the semifinal in the NBA Cup. They did lose to the Milwaukee Bucks. They made it a lot closer game than the
The
Thunder
final.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got blown out, right? I think if see, I was trying to give praise, but I'm coming out negative. I love the dice roll, the Trey Young dice roll on the logo in the Knicks. I thought he played an excellent game. He did not nearly have the numbers that he had against the Bucks, but I preferred the way he played in that Knicks game. I think they needed him to play like that in the Bucks, but my issue with that Bucks game is how he finished it. I think he forced a couple of threes. He went back to old school Trey, he forced a couple of threes because he won the Knicks game, right? But he forced a couple of threes that were unnecessary. I think he needs to get that to an open man, and if the ball finds its way back to him, then it was meant to be. But he was just pulling up, and he did that like 3 possessions in a row. And if he makes one of those, then we're up. But he didn't make any of them, so stop doing it.
Yeah, that's when I turn the TV off because that's the type of basketball that I've complained about for weeks now.
Yeah,
And it's crazy because when they don't play that way, to your point, we're winning.
they win. Yeah,
And they're putting together runs, right? They're not just winning one here and there. They won 7 straight playing team ball.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I never expected them to get to the final four, and they played well against the Bucks. The Bucks ended up winning it, as you said. So I mean, my hopes are improving
Yeah.
on. I think going into the game against the Bucks, we're like 2 or 3 games out of the third seed, or um.
hmm
So
It's only Boston and Milwaukee, or Boston and Cleveland that are just kind of miles ahead of the rest of the East. Everyone from 7 to 3 is right there, pretty close. I think it's like 3 games. Yeah, so
yeah,
I mean that's real encouraging that we could jump into a position like that with another run. They haven't played since that game, so I hope they come out with that same fire, right? Instead of being let down. Trey Young posted something afterward. I can't remember the actual context, but something to the effect of I'm still hungry. I want it all, right? So I hope he
yeah.
comes out with that fire and gets another 20 assist game and kills it, man.
The in season tournament's a real weird concept to me. I mean, it's definitely a gimmick to try and draw fans' interest in early games because a lot of a lot of fans, including myself, will tune out until the playoffs, right? Um, but it would have been nice to get a trophy, right? And have that kind of bragging rights. And then for the players, it's cash in their pockets. So there is that extra incentives. Now, the Lakers won it last year, and they didn't go anywhere postseason wise. At least they didn't get it to the finals. It didn't get to the ultimate goal of a championship. So winning the in season tournament might be nice, but it's not the main thing that we're hunting for.
I think it's becoming less of a gimmick. And I actually think it's as much about the players wanting, trying to incentivize the players to make the regular season a priority as much as it is about giving the fans some more meaningful basketball. I think it's for both of us. It's for us and them. Not just the money, right? Coming from 2 years or maybe it was 3 years ago where Trey said that the regular season is boring. that he only looks forward to the playoffs. To he said something that was completely opposite of that with the now that the cup is in effect, how like every night he wants to be out there, every night he wants to have success with his team. The maturation is crazy, but I also think that that's a big deal for the NBA as a whole, where you got all this load management stuff. People should want to play, right? That now eventually they're gonna have to up that prize, right? $1 million to most of these. I think they get 1 million. Each player gets $1 million, but I don't know.
It's five hundred
Nah,
thousand.
is it 500,000 per player?
Yeah,
Okay, so they can get a new car, right, on the league. They're
yeah.
probably gonna have to up that once those revenue dollars start coming in. I was looking at the crowd in the Vegas game, especially on the final, and there was a lot of empty seats in the first half.
What do you what do you think about it being played in a neutral site like that?
I can appreciate it. I think it's a money grab. One, right? You're trying to get dollars where you're not getting them before, especially with Vegas. And they've been talking about maybe putting a team there, but there's not one there yet. You're not getting Vegas dollars in the NBA unless you're doing an All-Star game. You're not doing every All-Star game in Vegas, but people go to Vegas on a regular basis, so they will come there for an event like that, and they will spend money on your product, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where else you could put it because most other cities have a team. Um,
Why does it need to be neutral though? Like you don't play the NBA playoffs neutral site.
no, you don't. I think it just adds to the excitement of it, right? It's evens the odds a bit. It's like the CFP. They're getting some home games now, but none of the semifinal nor the final game will be played at home. Well, it will once Georgia makes it to the national championship, more or
That
less.
our second home.
Home adjacent.
Yeah.
Right. So but yeah, no, I think that adds intrigue. And I think it's because of money,
Yeah.
right? If you take it to another place, if it's here in Atlanta, but it's Milwaukee and Oklahoma City, I don't know how many people are showing up for that. Like people go to the game to see the Hawks, probably secondary in a lot of cases, or LeBron or Steph, like the biggest of stars. I think Giannis is a star, but people don't appreciate how good he is.
I do. He's my favorite player.
And he's a dog, right? He deserves that appreciation, but he doesn't. People aren't the Bucks Hawks games aren't selling out, right?
Not yet. When that's the playoff series, those games will be
They
packed out.
definitely will. Yeah, yeah. But Bucks OKC definitely isn't gonna sell out here in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, but neither did it in Vegas, to your point.
Better odds of doing it there because people are there for work conventions. There's always trips to Vegas happening, whether it's for work, bachelorette parties, just a trip to Vegas, um, bachelor parties. Now you can go see football, and now with the NBA Cup, you can schedule your trip to Vegas around the NBA Cup at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's cool.
it is
Uh,
cool. I think it's going to become more of a staple. They're making changes with the All-Star game as well. It's like a 4-on-4 or a four-team tournament of 8 players or something. I mean, it seems like it's going to be pretty weird. Now that is going to be very gimmicky, and I don't know what they can do for that. We talked about that on the episode that we lost, but the All-Star game is kind of dead.
I
The floor
mean,
was cool. I like the dunk contest still, but how many more dunks can we do? I definitely like, Mac McClung, but he's not even really in the league, right?
yeah.
Shout out to him
I
for
mean,
going
I,
out there and winning the money and being super creative with the dunks. He is the best dunker for sure.
I
But
like I like the oh, what do they call it? Like the the future versus the stars game that they've
Yeah,
done. I like the skills competitions, the 3-point competition. Like all of that stuff to me is still fun. Now the dunk contest has lost some of its luster over the years,
yeah,
because how many new dunks can you do?
right.
As you put it, but I mean, I still think it's cool. The game itself, I really liked the format they did, um, where you had a, what was it, like a set point total that you were trying to get to each quarter, and you won a quarter instead of, just winning the whole game. You tried to win the most amount of quarters,
Yeah, in
and
the
each
final quarter
quarter.
they did 24 for a while, right? In honor of Kobe.
Yeah, like I really appreciated that format, and they were giving away money to charitable organizations each quarter, based off of who won. So that, I mean, that was cool. I wouldn't mind seeing that again.
Yeah, you know what game that I enjoyed were the rookies versus the sophomores. And that's been gone for a couple years. They did international versus America for a while. That'd be, I mean, a very competitive game now.
Yeah, for sure.
So they could probably bring that in, but that's not where they're going. I'll have to read it. We'll talk more about it on the next pod, but I think it's gonna be weird what they're doing, and I'm not super interested in it.
Yeah, I also like the celebrity game. Like that's always fun.
Celebrity game is good. Yeah, Friday and Saturday I still check in for. I don't watch Sunday anymore.
I've watched a few. Some of the most memorable though to me are when you had Kobe out there, you know, putting up 60. It's
What
just,
about what about T Mac throwing it off the backboard?
oh yeah.
Crazy moment.
Or
The Shaq crossover.
recently, I forget which year it was, but Steph was like just shy of breaking the 3-point scoring record. He might have broke it,
Yeah.
but he was just launching them from all over the court, like draining every single one of them, just on fire. That was pretty
See,
exciting.
I can watch that, but there's other people who like they'll try to get to beat the record, and they're just feeding the guy, and there's no defense. Like I'm not looking for you to play the hardest defense that you've ever played in your life, but at least have some competitive fire. It feels like that's gone.
Yeah, I mean, the All Star games are just like a popularity contest at this point. They're not even, necessarily merit based, you know,
Yeah,
teams.
fact that Trey Young hasn't, he made it last year as a replacement. He's a scab. That's crazy. That man's numbers are crazy.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do this year. All right. Well, from present to present, the Falcons suck, but present to future, there is a change in the air. Officially announced today, Kirk Cousins has been relieved of his duty as the starting quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons to be replaced by number 8 overall pick, Michael Penix Jr., the lefty.
How are you feeling about
Thoughts?
it?
Um, I don't like it, but I understand it.
We talked about how neither of us really wanted this decision to go down, right? We talked about wanting Michael Penix to get the entire season on the bench, at least to mature and develop. And I just wanted to see Kirk through. I mean, we paying him a ton of money. We basically were told in the off season that Kurt was the missing piece, and that we were going to be drafting a quarterback not to play now, but to sit for the next 2 years.
And the heir
Um,
apparent.
yeah, and you know, I'm with you. I understand the decision, but I don't like it. Um, I have heard some things. I sent you a um insider interview where they were discussing some of the, you know, what they hear from Flowery Branch as to what it's been like in practice, and um just kind of what's been going on around the building. And it does make you wonder, right? Like we said early, you know, what happened. I think I texted you during the game. I think Kurt has the yips, right? Like
Yeah.
he's without a doubt lacking confidence right now, and his play has suffered. But like, what's weird is like, what was the trigger? What caused this decline from, you know, at one point this season we were like 2 or 3 games above 500 to now we had to win just to get to 500. um or
I mean, he set the single game record for the Falcons like 5 weeks ago.
yeah.
Balled out. And I don't think I've seen a more steep decline in play in a single season, right? Maybe from an off season to the next season, someone's trash like Trevor Lawrence. No, I'm not gonna slander that man. I don't think he's very good, but he's worse today than he was last year. That said, Kirk going from a 400 plus yard game with 3 touchdowns, no picks to, 5 weeks of 1 touchdown, 9 picks is crazy. So that's the part I understand. You can't continue to start that and expect to keep your job. Um, Everyone's been calling for it for the quarterback change, and I think the media has, finally they won. Really, I think if the story hadn't gotten as big as it did, Raheem may have rolled Kurt out there one more time because you got the Giants. They're not very good. Their defense, I think, is a little better than the Raiders, and the Raiders were without their best defender. Um, so you give them another chance to pull it together because I don't. Kirk Cousins is one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
I'll put it in Kurt's own words. I didn't forget how to play quarterback.
He said he didn't forget how to play quarterback. Right.
I don't
He
believe
expects
he
to start
did.
somewhere. He
um
also said that there wasn't any, physical limitations that and that he hadn't really lost his confidence. So some of that was, what do they call it? Sugar talk? No, what is it? Lip service, right? Just trying to save face a bit. Very, very humble man. I don't think there's been a player more quickly endeared to me than Kirk Cousins. Like I feel like Kurt's, like a cousin. For lack of no pun intended. Um, I think he's a real good guy. I think he's a fire quarterback. I don't know what the hell has been going on these last 5 weeks. So I mean, it's not good football. It's not good quarterback. It looks like he may have forgotten how because to throw that ball that he threw to Drake London in the Raiders game, that was a dime. I mean, it was one of the easiest passes he can make. Maybe I can even make that pass. But it was right on the money. Drake didn't have to slow down, and it was there. And then to go from that to that pick where it just had those happy feet, even in
yeah,
the game, it was a crazy, you know, fall off.
I think about the I agree with you. Kurt's hard to root against just because of his personality, but I go back to that season of quarterbacks, and he's getting hit left and right. I mean, he got
A lot,
abused.
yeah.
But and so I don't want to say that this is the reason why, because I sat there and I watched him get abused and still play at a high level. But I wonder if the culmination of, you know, coming off of an injury and then getting hit repeatedly uh is somewhat wearing on his body and him mentally, right? Like those happy feet happen because when you're taking sacks, your internal clock starts to speed up, even when you're not under pressure, right? Like you just start to feel it, right? Like you no matter how cool you are, you start to in some ways panic, right? Not full blown panic meltdown, but you start speeding yourself up because you're anticipating getting hit or sacked. And I think that stuff stacks up. And over time, it would not surprise me if his body is just not able to recover the way it used to, especially coming off that injury. Like, I would not doubt there being something physically wrong with him just from the level of abuse he's taken over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah. He's taken a lot of sacks in his career. 332. And a lot of those have been in more recent years. So he got hurt last year. He played half the season. He had 17. This year he's up to 28 in 14 games.
Yeah, our O line is
Um,
trash.
at pass pro. They're good as hell at run blocking. Bijan hit 1,000 yards. Shout out to Bijan and the O line for blocking for him, but
How much of
he's
that
been
is
our whole
Bijan?
offense.
How much of that is Bijan with a little wiggle making the first guy miss, or yards after contact, more so than the offensive line being good at blocking? Just food for thought.
59%. 59%. Maybe 62.
In favor of which?
Bijan.
Yeah.
His 59 his talent versus 41, The offensive line does make some holes for him.
No, for sure. They're not. I mean, they're professionals, right? But
Not at pass blocking. That is another reason why I don't want to get Michael Penix in there, man. Right? You throw him in there. It's not just that he's going in and now he's taking the reins for a team that has nothing to lose. No, this
they have
team is in the
everything to
middle of a
lose.
playoff chase. The line isn't going to pass pro any better for him. He may be a little bit more mobile. The city is going to have all the pressure on the world on this kid. I mean, he ain't no kid. He's a little old, but I just don't think it's the ideal situation to get him in there. And when would be the ideal situation? It would be a lot of people's first question. Week 1 next year. Or maybe play this man in some preseason games, right? He has touched the field like twice. There's nothing like real live reps. He hasn't had any. So to throw him out there in the middle of a playoff chase, um, that just doesn't seem like a fair opportunity for him. No, I don't care where he was drafted.
I think it's a recipe for disaster, right? Like, I got a text in my fantasy football group. Some guys are pretty pumped up. I think a lot of people are excited about it. To be honest,
I think we're
not
the minority.
yeah. And someone brought it up. He's like, "What's the worst that can happen?" I'm like, "Well, you shatter this kid's confidence, and you still owe Kurt what you owe him, and you still don't have a franchise quarterback of the future. What are you gonna do? Like, you're gambling a lot on him stepping into that role and being a franchise quarterback. And no matter who you are, Caleb Williams, um, Daniels, they've had serious ups and downs this entire year, right? Um,
Honestly, I don't even know that Caleb Williams has had any ups. This
it,
whole thing has been a learning process for him, and he still hasn't gotten it all. So expect it from Michael Penix is crazy to me.
Bo Nix has had some up and downs, right? Uh,
Yeah,
so it's just one of those things that I'm with you. You don't do it with 4 games left to go in the regular season when you're in a playoff push. And we could be wrong. I hope we're wrong. I hope he comes in and he just lights the world on fire and never looks back. But the reality is without reps in preseason, without going through NFL practices and having game plans, formulated for him for weeks on end that he can build on, right? I'm not expecting you to come out week 1 and just blow the doors off the NFL in your first year starting, right? But you take week 1 and you build on it with week 2, and by the time you get to week 5, I'm expecting you to be in full season go mode, right? He hasn't had that opportunity, and we're 3/4 of the way through. And he's going to
Yeah,
have to go in and produce, or the fans are going to turn on him just
yeah.
as quickly as they turned on Michael Penix.
We are a fickle bunch down here in the A, man. It's not going. He has to succeed. Anything less than a playoff berth on Michael Penix's shoulders, it's going to look like a failure. So not only did we pay Kurt all this money, but we also drafted this bum. Is the way that they're gonna spell it, and it won't just be Atlanta fans; it'll be the national media too. So it'll
Yeah.
just sink in deeper and deeper. And now we end up in a situation talked about, like, okay, so we have all this sunk money, and we have a supposed franchise quarterback who has lost the city as well as his confidence. Like, it's a recipe for disaster. I don't think that there's better words for it. I think that's what you spelled out, and I am hopeful that I'm wrong, that you're wrong, but I just don't feel that way.
Now, that is the way that I feel uh, at my core. However, I am trying my best to see the situation and see, what positive could also come from it. And all of the people around the building, and I don't know if this is lip service, but we've been hearing it for weeks. Everyone has glowing things to say about Michael Penix. I thought he was a fantastic quarterback in college. I was excited when we drafted him. I think he has all the tools. He is older, he is more mature. He has been through some serious injuries, so he's faced adversity, right? Um, but everyone in the organization has nothing but good things to say about him. They've said he's looked like the best quarterback on the field in practice for a long time now. And I hope that is true, because if he lives up to the hype, we can go far. If the pieces fall, right? We do at this point need Tampa Bay to help us out a little bit uh, to get into the playoffs. But if we get there with Michael Penix and he proves to be what everyone is saying that he is, this is going to be an exciting football team. It's going to be what we expected from the jump, with the electric offense. That who are you going to guard, right? You got weapons on the outside. You got two backs that have proven that they can run the ball extremely well, and then you'll have a quarterback that's actually dishing the rock and isn't a statue, right? Like, he can also hurt you with his legs.
To correct you a bit, it's what we actually got, not even just expected. The month of October, I know it feels so far away for so many Falcons fans because of the run that we just had. It feels far away for me as well, but October was a great month to be a Falcons fan.
Yeah,
Lot of excitement, lot of points, lot of touchdowns.
but even in that excitement, man, they were leaving some things to be desired, right? Our third down percentage was awful. Uh, we would be boom or bust offensively, right? We'd have drives where things went extremely well. We were electric. And then we'd have drives where we stalled out because of penalties or just bad play execution, right? It was a mixed bag, but we were doing enough to win games, which ultimately, when you win, it's fun, right?
Just win, baby. What they say out in Vegas. So check me out. It went 24-14. That was September 29th, so I'll count that game. Um 36-30 versus the Bucks in OT. That's exciting. 38-20 versus the Panthers. Skip the Seahawks game. and then the home game that we both went to, 31-26, and then the Cowboys game was when things started to kinda to wane a bit, but they won that one too, 21-17. Then they put up 17 in a loss, and that was a we should have won that with kicks. I'm surprised more people aren't talking about Koo. Like if you're benching Kurt, what you doing with Youngway?
Oh,
But you're
he hit the IR.
oh, did he?
Yeah, they promoted a guy off the practice squad.
Ah, okay. So Kurt's just a bigger story. Obviously, he's a bigger story, but I didn't hear
Yeah,
about that at
huge
all. I
story.
didn't hear about anyone talking about it.
$100 million story.
Yeah.
Not
Do
to
you know he
count the
got
man's money.
65 of that this year?
Wow. I mean, I will tell you, if Kurt doesn't go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL, he will go down as having the best contracts.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyone in the NFL.
100%. Now, I mentioned the number he got paid this year because next year I think it's like 25 million on the books that, could be tradable
Yeah, I think
for
it's
if he had the opportunity to have a better showing than his last couple of games.
yeah, I think it's like 26-7 or something around that, somewhere in that 25 ballpark, right? But I think
Yeah.
we would still have a $35 million cap hit um, that we would absorb next year of dead money if we were to trade him. But it, I know this is getting too deep into a conversation that we didn't really intend, but he has a no trade clause, so it would have to
Yeah.
be with his consent to trade him.
Yeah, so you either pay him to be a backup or cut him, and that cap hit is huge if you cut him this year versus after next season.
Yeah, so the cap hit would be $65 million, which
Yeah.
honestly isn't the worst that we've seen as Falcons fans. I don't believe the year we ate Julio and Matt
And Matt,
Ryan's
yeah,
was pretty rough, and the Denver Broncos just got done eating 80
Russ, yeah,
for Russ. So it's not ideal, but franchises have done it. That whole part of the puzzle will be interesting because I mean, I Raheem said in his press conference that he doesn't consider anything in the NFL guaranteed. When asked if Kirk Cousins would play again as a starting quarterback for the Falcons this year, but in Michael Penix Jr.'s press conference, he was asked about getting the phone call, and he said that he got the call that he was going to be the starting quarterback for the rest of the year. So it's two kind of mixed messages, right? Raheem's trying to play a little bit of the side. Well, you know, we don't know if Kurt's gonna be our
yeah.
if he's gonna
Hedge your
start
bets.
again, or you know. But it sounds like to me that they've pretty much said, look, Michael Penix, you're going to get the rock for the remaining 4 games, regardless of what happens, because they want to see what he's got. They need the reps.
It's 3, but I've heard that it's for the foreseeable future. Like he has the keys. Kurt won't be the starter next year. This is Michael Penix's team now, is what
Right.
I've heard. People interpreted what Raheem said as that.
Mm.
That's on top of what Michael Penix said.
I mean, when you say that nothing is guaranteed, you're leaving the door open, right, for a return of
Yeah.
Kurt. And I think as in that position, you're almost obligated to play that political stance. But if you're Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins, you know, you're seriously having to think about what do you want in your future.
It was a class act for him to call Michael Penix afterward, man. Did you hear that in his interview?
Yeah, no, I mean, Kurt's a professional. He's a
It's
likable
it's more
guy.
than that, right? It's more than just being a professional. I want to go to Waffle House. This guy, man, I want to buy him, a Texas bacon chicken melt double hash chunk. You know what I mean? And just pick his brain. Like, yeah, what are you doing outside of football? Maybe we could be partners or friends. You know what I mean?
I
He's our
think
age.
he is our age, yeah. Which is wild because I feel like he seems older.
Yeah, definitely. All athletes seem older.
um, but no, that we are called to be the light, and I think Kirk Cousins demonstrates what it means to be the light in all the things that you
Amen,
do.
brother. Yeah,
Um, in the
yeah,
way that he approaches life and his profession, right?
yeah. 100%, man. So I wish him the best, but I'm gonna be in there on Sunday, man, watching that big Penix energy. And at home versus a substandard team who is chasing the number one pick, it could be a worse situation. I'm still not a fan, but it could be a lot worse. Like if you were sending him, if his first game starting was on the road against the Commanders, which we're still battling for position in the wild card against them. Like if I think they had to lose out or maybe lose
We're two
two or
games.
three.
Yeah, we're two
Yeah,
games behind the Commanders, and we're one game behind Tampa.
yeah. So if we beat them and then they lose another game, we are in the wild card spot. Or if Tampa loses one game, which they're playing a resurgent Cowboys team who has an outside chance to get in. They need they need like three teams to lose out, including us. Us, um, not Tampa. Us, the Commanders, and a third team. I heard that on the radio today. If all three of those teams lose all the rest of their games, then the Cowboys can get in if they win out. But they've been playing better since Michael Parsons has come back. So maybe Michael can get back there and terrorize Baker,
Yeah,
give us some help this weekend, man. Because I'm confident that we beat the Giants. I want Michael Penix to succeed. So if it's now, all right, so be it.
absolutely. I want nothing but the best for Michael Penix. I still find myself just struggling with the way things have gone down and just the way that this franchise has operated in the past. Like you can't help but feel that this is the wrong move, right? Because we've seen this story play out before and it was ugly. And then we lost an entire year trying to continue to bet on this man. Uh
Doubling down.
yeah. And I mean
He had a couple of good runs and a couple of dimes in Oakland or Vegas. But all in all, he definitely doesn't look like an NFL starter.
absolutely not.
D Riddy.
And I was kind of, you know, high hoped on Desmond Ritter coming out of college just based off of watching him play. And part of me wonders how much did we just completely destroy that guy's development and even um his confidence with the way that we used him. He sat behind a flailing Marcus Mariota who, crazy statistic, has more playoff victories than Kirk Cousins in his career.
Mm.
Um, yeah, Kurt is 1-4. Marcus Mariota is 3-4 in his career in the playoffs.
With the Titans?
Uh, I'm not sure if they were all with the Titans, but at least one of them was with the Titans.
So he was on King Henry's shoulders. But a win's a win.
um, what does Raheem say? Stats are for losers.
That was such a hater move for him.
um, but yeah, so I hope history doesn't repeat itself. But
All,
I'm not
yeah,
betting on it.
all three of his wins were with the Titans. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, man, you know how disappointed I was when we traded D Riddy. I thought a year of him sitting behind, a year or two of him sitting behind Kirk Cousins would have did him a lot of good because he's got a real strong arm. He has some pretty quick feet. He's an athletic guy. Um, just has terrible decision making. And you can learn from a better decision maker to improve upon that. Um, he just hasn't been able to sit behind a good decision maker. Like Aiden O'Connell's not good.
The pick
He's not
he
learning there.
the pick that he threw to Justin Simmons.
Simmons. Yeah.
Even the play-by-play was like he had to have seen that safety. Like, what in the heck is he doing? This is a
Yeah.
terrible decision. Held nothing back. Just flat out called him dumb for that decision.
Yeah. I know you text me and was like, we did not deserve to win that game. I completely agree. The fact that they were in it to the end and if Jesse Bates doesn't Jesse Bate, we lose
It's wild.
is wild. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close on our time, so I don't want to get too far into another topic, but part of me wonders about this whole Kurt issue, right? We talked about, is it possibly wear and tear from getting hit over the long season and his body just, giving up on him? Is that to blame, or should we really be putting a lot more blame on the offensive coordinator and the play call? And like, we really aren't doing things from a play standpoint that really highlight his strengths, right? And I think that's your
Yeah.
job as an OC, is not to force a particular offensive style on your team, but to mold your offense around what your team does well. I thought the play call in that Raiders game on Monday night was horrendous.
I do think that Zach Robinson is owed some of the blame. When I was watching that Raiders game, it was oddly reminiscent of the Steelers game at the beginning of the season where they were not pulling Kurt out of the pistol. So whether it's Zach Robinson's lack of confidence in Kurt or Kurt's lack of confidence in himself or an injury or what, Zach Robinson is still calling the plays. So for him to go out there and have Kurt throw the ball, I think the number was 7 times after that pick for a total of 17 throws in a game is crazy, right? You need to put some points up on the board. You were running Bijan hit over 100. Tyler Algier was less successful, but still decently effective. So I get leaning on the run, but you're not going to win games if you can't pass. And he was refusing to pass, and that's him calling plays.
And even not just the play calls on first, second, and third down, but we were punting the ball on the other side of the field. Like, we played, the play call in general was so conservative. We were playing not to lose, and we darn near lost because of it.
Yeah, 100%. 100% we're playing not to lose. So yeah, no, that's on him. I don't there's a lot that happens that we don't see, right? All we see is game day. So what he may have seen from Kurt over the last 9 game days had to have influenced or may have influenced his play call. But you still have to play to win. You can't go into a shell. Otherwise, take him out. If your confidence in him is that low, go ahead and take him out. Why not just go ahead and put Michael Penix in the Raiders game?
100% agree with you, right? Like, clearly there was some issues in your confidence in him to throw the ball because you didn't throw the ball.
Hmm.
So if that's the case, what's he doing on the field to begin with?
Yeah, the run was working. It wasn't scoring touchdowns. It was getting us in position to score, and then as we know, the red zone tightens up a good bit. So you have to be balanced down there, and we were not. We didn't throw the ball.
Well, we've got a big every game here on out is must win. So it should be interesting. You know, I do think our future is bright. I have some PTSD from the way this franchise has treated us in the past and the way
Hmm.
things have shaken out in the past. But I'm going to go as hopeful and optimistic as I can be uh, with Michael Penix at the helm. And he's going to come out and be the number 8 overall pick, the franchise guy that we all anticipate he has it in him. Now we're going to get to see it.
I remember saying that Marcus Mariota was going to have a resurgence here in against Jersey, so maybe I won't be that optimistic, but I am confident about Michael Penix, his future. I don't know about this season.
I recall telling you about how boo boo Marcus Mariota was. Um,
You end up being right.
but you are the supreme optimist, and I am more. Um, I don't know. I want to say I'm more center leaning, but I do think I do have a little bit of a pessimistic outlook.
You're a negative Nancy for sure.
I don't think
We,
I'm 100% negative.
together we balance each other out.
Yeah, I'm
I
definitely
think I'm more
on.
to the extreme than you are in the negative. I'm more optimistic than you are pessimistic for sure.
Yeah, I do think I am more central, but I'm on the pessimistic side. I lean
Hmm.
pessimist more than optimist, specifically when it comes to the Falcons and the Hawks, because they've never done anything in their franchise history to, I think, garner that optimism. Whereas the Dogs and the Braves have at least done enough in my lifetime to warrant the benefit of the doubt.
When you have a term for your franchise that says the Falcons are gonna Falcon, it's,
It's not a
it's
good
hard to
thing.
garner a whole lot of optimism behind that. I find a way to do it every off season, but
In the heat of
it's
the
not an easy
moment,
task.
in the heat of the moment yesterday when the announcement came down, I think I posted on Bleacher Report that this franchise was repeating the same mistakes it's made in the past, and that's why we're a poverty franchise.
Mm. I mean, they are, but we're gonna hope for different results.
Absolutely.
Insane in the membrane. Yep. All right, man. Well, you know, to Michael Penix's success, Braves make a move, and Hawks keep it going, man. Let's finish top four.
And Bulldogs, sick 'em. You got a
Sick 'em.
little, you
Sick
got
'em.
some time before you see the field, but finish it out. Finish out the season strong.
Stock 'em up, Gunner. You know.
Yeah.
All right, it's getting out of control.
Yeah, I look forward to hopefully talking some college football next week with you in a little bit more depth, as this weekend we'll have seen the first round of the playoffs and the Bulldogs will know their opponent. So we should
Yeah,
have some good things to talk about. And there's a lot just going on with college. It's in the silly season, as they call it in soccer.
transfer portal and all that. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
Well, until next week, my brother.
like, subscribe, leave us a comment, hit that notification bell, and follow us on our other platforms. We got Insta, we got the good old Tiki Taki. It's Players Ball Pod. That's Players Ball Pod on both of those platforms. You'll see it right here. So give us a follow, give us some likes. We appreciate your time. Much love and good night. Peace.
All right. Peace.